Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Real people doing real deals in real estate and no fake gurus allowed. We bring you the best and the most real estate investors in the space. They'll be showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly of real estate investing. Like, share, subscribe, get notified. It's the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast, and today we have Mr. Tim Luna, who's out of Houston, Texas, and he's been doing this for quite a while now.
Yes, I have. Thanks for having me, Ricardo. It's always good to see you.
No, I appreciate you, brother. Glad you came by, and it's always a great time to chit-chat before and after the podcast.
Absolutely.
But who is Tim, man? Where do you come from?
Tim Luna, 46 years old, born and raised in Pearland, Texas, just about 20 minutes south of Houston. Graduated Pearland High School in 1993, a long time ago.
Wow.
Started out working in the restaurant business, kind of transitioned to oil and gas operations, different little chemical plants. And about 11 years ago, started doing real estate. And then about 8.5 years ago, stumbled onto my first wholesale deal, and the rest is history.
Wow. And so let's do that story, but a lot slower.
Sure.
So let's go back to the restaurant business. What were you doing back then? Is it like when you just came out of high school, you started?
Yeah, out of high school, I always kind of wanted to do like hotel restaurant management, and ended up getting a job at Landry's down in Kemah.
Okay.
One of the busiest restaurants at the time. Before it was a big waterfront, it was just a regular, you had Landry's and you had Jolie's right there, and the Crab House and stuff. So, it wasn't the big amusement park just yet, know. So, kind of cut my teeth there, and I was learning everything I was going to learn in school, but a lot faster, So
Got it.
I was like, well, let me just start working.
And did you become like a manager there, or?
Yeah, I was they had the general manager, assistant general manager, and then I was one of the top floor managers. I made like the wait staff schedule and hostess schedule, stuff like that. So
good deal. So I'm going to assume that during that time you learned a lot about processes that they use within, because the same process they use in Landry's in that particular restaurant, they're going to use it in the one in Mississippi or whatever, right?
Absolutely. I actually went and helped them open a store in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay.
And so, the good thing is that, all the systems and everything they had in place in Kemah they just applied the same thing, like you said, just a different state, So it was pretty cool.
So how old were you when you left that restaurant life?
So I was 25. Got tired of it, nights, weekends, holidays, very low pay.
Right.
Making like $38,000 a year.
Right.
But I was 25 years old, right? So you feel like that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. You can take care of your car payment. Uh-huh. You can pay rent.
Yep.
And you got money for the movies.
Yep. Exactly. You're not thinking about different things at the time, right?
No, and you're busy too, man. Like those guys are working long hours, right?
Yeah. 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. On the weekends, I get home at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Saturday night, into Sunday, I close the restaurant, do all the deposits, and make sure everybody's got everything cleaned up ready for Sunday. I wouldn't get home at 4 or 5 and had to be back at 2 the next day.
Wow. So, how do you stumble into the oil fields stuff?
So, a small little plant there in Clear Lake, right there in Bay Area, called Dixie Chemical. My dad's neighbor was a supervisor out there for years.
Wow.
And so,
I just had an Uber guy take me to my house that work over there.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
He told me, I work at Dixie Chemicals. I said, oh, okay. The guy had a F-150, nice truck.
Yeah.
And he said, man, I just got out of the house to make some, my wife was driving me crazy or something like that. So I just turned on the old rap and started running around. So.
Yeah, and that schedule, back then it was 4 on 4 off. So you work, Monday through Thursday days, off the weekend, then work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, whatever. So he told my dad they were hiring, and it was one of those no experience, no degree. Like now you need a degree, you need experience, you need the process tech degree and experience. They wanted no experience. They preferred no experience. I walked in and
that way they can mold you into what they want. And
they show you how to do their stuff.
Right.
And that's and that just kind of fed me the whole way through because I worked at DuPont, and then I went to Shell, and I was at Shell for about 10 and a half years, and then I transitioned to full-time real estate.
Okay. When did you start wanting to learn more about real estate? Like, at what point do you say, "Hey, man, I'm gonna look into buying a property," or maybe how do you?
So I ended up. There was a guy, my buddy Sergio. I worked at Shell with him, and he had his own brokerage, but it was like a Century 21 spinoff. You know, he didn't have an office, all referrals. Him and I went to Chicago one week for a Astros game. So watched the Cubs and Astros play, and then we went to a White Sox game. But he had his laptop the whole time. He was working whenever we were at the hotel. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, and he's like, oh, I'm doing real estate.
It's my side hustle.
Yeah, that's what he told me, you know, and I'm like, man, I'd always had an interest in doing real estate, right? And always wanted to learn. And he's like, man, get your license. I'll let you work some of these people that I'm just too busy, you know? So I talked to my wife and got my license through Champions in a weekend. You know, I did all the courses in a weekend, you know, and then did the background check and whatnot. And so started working, doing real estate, started showing houses, you know, but then that was the time of the cycle of housing where people would look at 10 or 12 properties before they'd make an offer on one.
Right.
You know, not like today. You look at 3 houses, you make offers on 4.
Yes.
You know, right?
That's correct.
You know, so man, just got tired of, you know, I was making $100,000 a year just at Shell just to show up.
Right.
And I was tired of my weekends off, taking people all over town, you know, and I'm like, there's got to be an easier way. And so I kind of started, kind of backtrack. I had a vending machine business.
Okay.
And I had a vending machine business for 10 years. I had 137 machines on 37 locations.
Oh, wow.
In Houston, yeah. And I had a big box truck. I had a couple drivers at one time. That's a hard job to keep full because people are dealing with cash, young people, whatever, right? So I started thinking of real estate like a vending machine. It's going to sell itself if it's in the right location, has the right stuff inside of it, you know. Yep. So started looking into wholesaling, man, and you know, just took off from there. I just jumped all the way into it. Wow. You know?
So what happened to the vending machine route?
It just got to be too much, you know. It was just so, you know, I would work, you know, nights and stuff at Shell, and I'd get off. I would get off work like Friday mornings, and when I didn't have my drivers, like I would get off at 5 a.m. and I would load up Thursday night before I went to work on nights, and then I would go out, and I wouldn't get home till 2 in the afternoon because I was doing all my locations.
Right.
You know, so I get up. I'm working all night long. You know, don't go home and sleep. I just get up. I just go
right.
straight.
Now you're pulling an 18-hour shift now.
Exactly. You know, then I get home and, you know, the kids want to do something. My wife wants to do something, and I'm exhausted. You know, what really did it for me was my wife had started teaching, and it was her first summer to have a summer. You know, my kids were probably 5 and 3 maybe, and I would get up on my days off at 5 a.m., go do this vending machine route, and I'd get home at 6 o'clock at night, and I'd have to unload because it's summertime and it's so hot, and the Cokes would explode in my truck if I didn't take them out or whatever, and you know, it's 7 o'clock at night, and they want to go watch a movie, or they want to go out to eat, or they want to do whatever, and I didn't want to do anything. I was exhausted.
You just want to rest.
I didn't want to take a shower and do nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, that's not. So a buddy of mine, you know, I've known him since we were 4 years old, and I'm his daughter's godfather. He's my son's godfather. He asked me one day, he said, man, how much do you make a month doing that? You know, because I was always getting good tax returns. I always had cash in my pocket, but he's like, how much do you make a month doing that? I was like, I never thought about it. You know, and he goes, I challenge you for 30 days to figure out gas, mileage, time, everything. Figure out how much you make a month, you know, an hour doing it. I'm like, all right. Made like less than $1 an hour doing this shit, man.
No shit.
Yep. And wow. And you know, between going to Sam's, loading the cart, loading my truck, going to the location.
It was just busy work.
Busy work. That's all it is busy work. That's all it was busy work. And I never looked at it that way because I enjoyed it. But then when he said that, I was like, no.
You didn't enjoy it anymore because you're like, man, I'm putting all these efforts into something that's really not doing anything for me.
Nothing.
Other than taking away from my family.
Exactly. And it you know, it's one of those things where, you know, if I did not fill them, they weren't making me any money. So I had to keep them full. You know, and it's like, it just got to be too much, man. So I sold everything. I did okay on the sale. I made some money, you know, and then and at that time I already had my license. I was already still doing real estate, you know. So after that, it was just full on real estate and working at Shell.
Wow. That's crazy, man. So did you sell all those machines, or?
I sold a lot of them, and then they were sitting in my parents' RV shed. They have a big RV storage, and I called the company and I said, look, I'm going to send back some of these. Just give me a credit and I'll pay the difference. I think after I sold everything and paid the difference, I ended up still walking on, about $35,000, which is pretty good considering it's a vending machine business. Because the way it would work is if your location generated $50,000 a year in gross sales, you could sell it for about $25,000, and I had luckily for me, what saved me was I had 12 machines at one location. They had over 500 employees. That location, it would literally take me 3 hours, and I timed it multiple times from the time I pulled up and turned my truck off at the first stop, because they had 4 warehouses, and I had 2 machines in each one, right? And then I had one location one break room had 3 machines, just 3 snack machines, and I would literally fill up the snack machine, walk out of that break room, fill up 2 snack machines, walk out of the break room, and work on the Coke machine. When I was done and they were off break, I could walk back in there. It was a machine shop. I could walk back in that break room, pull about $150 out, and then still fill it back up. Like I had to be there Monday, Wednesday, Friday, religiously. It was doing about $6,500 a month in profit or in sales, and it carried my whole route.
Wow!
It was just, it was doing, so it was doing about $24,000 a month, and it was carrying the whole business.
Wow!
So I was able to sell that location. The guy who bought it from me, right after the, kind of the housing market crashed and stuff and whatnot, and they laid off everybody but like 100 people. So he kind of got the short end of the stick there.
Oh yeah, because he didn't get all the revenue.
Yep.
That sucks. Okay, so you started as an agent, right?
Yep.
When did you stumble into being an investor?
At first I stumbled into just kind of the wholesaling as I met a guy. He still does real estate. His name's Tony Rodriguez. He still does real estate here in town, and he taught me about driving for dollars. And at the time, he had kind of a mini buyers list.
Yeah.
So we focused on like Houston Avenue.
A mini buyers list.
Yeah.
Is that like 300 buyers or what?
No, I think he had probably like 50 or 60 people that he knew to knew to talk to.
He was just very
meticulous, and like he had an exact, like, hey, if I found this, then he had this guy for it. If I found this, and so we were over there like Houston Avenue, Beauchamp, like right by the courthouse.
Right.
And the first deal I did, he taught me how to drive and get the addresses and look them up on HCAD and send letters and stuff. And we did a deal off of Bingham Street right there, Houston Avenue and Bingham there on the corner. It was a 6,000 square foot lot, and they lived in San Antonio. I sent her a letter, and she's like, "Yeah, I want 140, 130, whatever." We sold it for 180,000.
Wow, so $40,000 assignment
off the bat, and I'm like, man, I was hooked there, man.
Man, you get 20 G's like that, because if you JV'd it with a guy, right, that's 20 and 20.
Yep.
But you get 20 on your first deal, and you're like, man, and this is only half of it? Like, what if I do the whole thing by myself? Exactly. Oh, that's 40 grand. Then you start calculating, how long does it take me to make 40 grand doing what I do right now,
Exactly. And that was my exact mentality. I'm like, okay, now I got to figure out how to do this on my own. So I started working on my own buyers list, found a guy who had one for sale. We worked out a deal, and I just took off. I started doing driving. So my mom, she retired from NASA after 42 years. So she'd retired, had nothing to do. So I call her, hey, look, why don't you come with me? So like if I was off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'd say, look, Wednesday be here at 9 a.m. And we had a big spiral notebook, and we drive all over Houston, just different, like Meyerland. I did a lot of stuff, Post Oak Terrace. And
that's pretty cool, because you're hanging out with your mom, just having a bonding time in between mom and son.
We'd eat lunch and hang out. And
talking, bullshitting,
Exactly. And so, I enjoyed it, and, she still helps me to this day on the business, different aspects of it now.
Right.
But, literally she would write down like, Edward Street, and she'd write at the top, and I'd go down the street, and I'd look to the driver's side, she'd look to the passenger side, and she knew what to look for, and I would just be calling out numbers like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and she's just writing. And so then we go to another street.
So you developed a system for driving for dollars with an assistant.
Yep.
Which you say, this is the route. As soon as I spit out whatever numbers, this is what you're gonna write down, and boom, 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 and now you're freaking going all over town looking for properties.
So we'd probably get about 200 or 300 addresses, and then she would look them up. I bought her a printer that looked as if she hand wrote the letter, and then we would put them in the envelopes. We get the envelopes from Sam's, the longer ones, the ones that stick out past your bills and your invitations, you know. And man, I had it down to a science. I would mail Thursdays and Fridays, and that way they would get them on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Mondays and Tuesdays. That's when they open up the mail.
When they open up the mail. Yep. And I had so much of a response rate.
Yeah, the post office hated me because I would show up there on Fridays with 30,000 letters, 20,000 letters. And man, these people at the post office, they don't want to work.
They don't. They're union.
They're like, oh my God, here comes this guy, like with all these mailings, you know. And here I am, Friday afternoon, it's 4 p.m. They're dying to go home, and I'm just dropping off that load for them to go process it and take it.
Yep.
But hey, man, sure enough, Monday, Tuesdays, phone is ringing.
Yep. Did you meter your stuff or did you stamp it?
So we metered them and stamped it.
Okay. See, I found I had more success when I stamped it because the
but it's a combination.
Yeah. Right.
So we because I had a mail a permit. I had a permit. I had to get a permit because I was a mail house. So we get the meter first, and that's 10 cents.
Okay.
And then we ran it through the machine that will stamp them as if you put them yourself.
Yeah.
And that was the rest of the
okay.
the cents for the freaking thing to go out. Right. So I forgot what the number was, but I would say and this is the last time I did a mail out like that was like 2 years ago, but I think it was 24 or 26 cents for standard mail for us because we were a mail house. So we get a huge break. And then if it was first class, it was about 35 or 36. So it was 10 cents more. Yeah. So depending on whether we sent it first class or not, they will charge you those cents. But the USPS will know that it was first class or not by the metered portion of it. And then the stamp is just 10 cents more that you're adding, or 15 or whatever, so you can, send it out. But yeah, we ran it, and man, it looked like it was legit because the stamp will be sideways. Yeah. It wouldn't be just perfect.
Just right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's funny. I mean, that's exactly how I did it. I mean, I had it all. When I mailed on, like one time I just tested it and I mailed it on Wednesday. Well, I probably did 100 and I probably got like 8 calls. Because
the thing is, on Fridays, if they get it on Friday, they're on the weekend mode, man. They get the letter and they go put it on the side. And I'll look at that next week. And then next week never comes around.
Yep.
But if they get it on Monday, they're like, what is this? Who is this guy, Tim? And they open up. It's like, man, okay, yeah, I might want to sell my vacant house or whatever, right?
And we would always, my mom would handwrite the envelopes every time.
Wow.
Every time. And so what I did was I gave her 1% of my net.
Right.
So if I netted 10, she got 1,000. If I netted $5,000, she got 500. Something. I give her 1,000. It didn't matter. I was doing a lot of volume.
Right.
I was working at Shell and I was still doing 10, 15 deals a month.
Wow.
So I was rolling.
Yeah. So we had different printers for different things. So one printer was only for envelopes, but when we printed it, it was like it was handwritten.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So we did the envelope like that, and we also did the letter that was handwritten. And then on the letter, we got to where we did neurolinguistic programming. So when you went through let's say this is the letter, right? And you go through a letter, and you say, hey, Cassie, my name is Tim Luna, and my wife and I are looking to buy a property. Then we'll go and embed different words, bolded with different letters, but they look still like they were handwritten. Yeah. So if they just scan through the letter, they will see something like, sell me your house cash fast.
Right.
If they just scan it, that's what the subconscious mind was picking up. And it's funny because I went to a house one day, and I asked the lady, I said, let me ask you a question. Why did you call us? And she's like, I don't know. I get hundreds of this. And for some reason, you were the one that I picked. Really? So there was something about your message that I just couldn't get the attach from, and I just laughed. And right at that moment, I said, you know what? My NLP is working. Yeah. So we started doing that more and more and more. And then we started playing with the stock of the paper as well. That way, when they fill it, it's different. We started changing the envelopes. But man, the cost per acquisition of mailers got so high that at some point it didn't make no sense anymore. So you did all mailers, and you operated like that for a few years, like until
all the way till 2017.
2017.
Yeah, so probably 4.5, 5 years, probably.
Okay.
Know? But I mean, I had that area, Meyerland, Post Oak Terrace, all those areas, So in Post Oak Terrace, right there, 610 Meyerland, but on the inside of the loop, right? I can't remember the name of the road is now, but it's a funny story. This guy called me one day, and he's like, "Hey, I want you to, how much you can pay me for my house?" Because we'd always leave the kind of what you're saying. We would leave the blank spot. My mom would handwrite the person's name and then the address on the letter. And he's like, well, "How much are you going to pay me?" And I said, "Well, yes, sir." I said, "What's your address?" And I'll get you an offer, right now, And he's like, "I knew this was BS, probably some mass mail out crap and yada yada yada." I said, "Yes, sir. I probably sent out about 200 letters last week, but if you just give me your address, I'll be able to tell you what I can offer you." No, you're just a scammer. You're just this. I'm not going to do this. It's a bunch of crap. Yada. And I said, "Look, sir," I said, "Look, all I need is your address. That's all I need. I don't even need to know by your street. I know where I'm looking at, And no, I said, "I'll tell you what." And so in Post Oak Terrace, I can't remember the name of the road. I think it's Brunswick or New Haven or something, or Newcastle. It would run parallel to 610. Everything to the left of Newcastle was 5,000 square foot lots. That's it. If you had a double lot, it was 10,000. Everything to the west was 5,000 to 9,000. So I told him, "Sir," I said, "all I need to know is if you're east or west of Newcastle, because everything east of Newcastle is 5,000 square foot lots. And I know what I can pay for a 5,000 square foot lot that I'm going to tear the house down on. If you're west of Newcastle, those numbers are different because they range from 5,000 to 9,000. Some even have 9,600. Now, are you east or west of Newcastle?" And the next words out of his mouth were his address, because he knew that I was not some scam guy. I mean,
you knew exactly. You knew your market.
Yeah, so he wasn't going to out-talk me. And sure enough, he was west of Newcastle. I got his property under contract and I sold it.
Wow.
And I asked him. I said, when we met in person, signed the contract, I said, "Hey, why'd you get so angry? Why'd you tell me your address?" He said, "Well, I knew when you said Newcastle, I knew you knew where you're talking about because he lived like Newcastle's here. He was 3 houses in."
You see, that's how important it is to do your due diligence when somebody either calls you or to be on the computer. Because, okay, let's say I'm doing a mail out in freaking, King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, right? I don't know King of Prussia, but Google does. So all I got to do is get on Google and say, "Hey, okay, are you by whatever street or avenue?" And, I see in the corner there's like there's like a Starbucks. Now I sound like I'm local.
Yep.
"Oh, yeah, I'm right across the Starbucks." "Oh, perfect. All right. So what's the address again?" So I can confirm. But a lot of people, they would have taken the get me off the list.
Yeah.
You're a scammer or whatever right off the bat.
Yep.
As opposed to say, "Hey, man, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm looking at." That's what got you a deal, right? So you did mailers until 2017. What do you do left after that?
So 2017 was my turning point. I mean, I really went totally away from single family and went straight commercial, multifamily, strip centers, whatever, anything commercial, stores, business, RV parks, mobile home parks. And Harvey did it for me. Harvey drove me that way.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about your stories with Harvey.
Yeah.
Right. So, my story is I was in Post Oak Terrace. A lady I'd sent a letter to, and she called me and said, "Had the letter for a while, yada, yada, yada." And I went to her and had all her stuff in the driveway, flooded out, and I talked to her and I made her an offer, a legitimate offer. I was probably going to make 10 or 20 grand, whatever. She's like, "Oh, no, Sonny, I'm going to have to go with the other offer." I'm like, "You had another offer?" She said, "Yeah, he's $50,000 higher than you are."
Somebody from out of town.
Yep. And I said, "Look," and I explained it to her. I broke it all down. I sat at her kitchen table, what was left of it. Boom, boom, boom. I said, "There's no way, looking at these numbers, that anyone will buy this property." And I told her, I said, "I'm not going to even buy it. I have a buyer for you, a guy who's going to build." And I said, "Look, call me back in 30 days when this guy doesn't close and when he disappears on you." I said, "My offer will be lower. I don't ever come back with the same offer, But so she called me back 30 days later. She said, "You were right." I said, "I know I was right. I knew I was right when I was sitting in your house." So I kind of went against my better judgment. I gave her what I originally was going to offer, and I sold the property, and I made 10, 12 grand, whatever. But for me, it was an awakening. I'm like, so I'm going after people whose only asset is their house.
Yeah.
So I got to do something different.
Yeah.
So I started looking into apartments, and I ended up finding a guy he had a 5-unit in Angleton, and he had a 12.
I remember those 5 units.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I had a property right across the 5 units, and when you were selling it, I wanted to buy it, but I just ran the numbers, and then they didn't make sense to me, and I just kept on buying more houses.
Right. And then he had a 12-unit in Brenham. So I sold that 5-unit like 6 times. I collected like $5,000 deposits.
Crazy.
And then I ended up selling it again, and then I sold the 12 units in Brenham, and I think that both those deals, I want to say I think I made like 160 or 150,000.
Wow.
And I was like, and it's one of those where your light goes off. I'm like, if I can do this over and over again,
I don't have to be chasing houses and competing against 20 other guys.
Exactly. So I dug in and just started looking into ways of tracking people down. And, the first 10 calls I made, I got 10 contracts because no one was calling them. No one was calling a single multifamily person.
Well,
now I sold all those deals, but looking back in hindsight, this is 2017. I probably should have bought 8 of those and sold 2, but I wasn't thinking that way yet. Right.
Yeah. And you probably needed the money too, like create cash flow for the business and for you to pay bills and stuff.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, I'm the same way. Like, if I need money, I'm not buying anything. I'm just wholesaling it so I can collect the cash, right?
Just keep rolling.
Yeah.
So and then the rest is history. I went full on into cap rates, NOIs. How do you all the questions you asked, multifamily person as opposed to just a single family person, and I just went full bore, man. I was just moving deals and started growing the buyers list even more. So I think I've got about 60,000 nationwide on my buyers list now that, I get people that email me all the time. Hey, what do you got? Hey, this, hey, I need this. Can you find it? Oh, I can try, but, I'm not going to cater to you, but I'll see if I can find
what we were
something.
talking about earlier. And we have a guest here in the studio, by the way. He'll be next on the podcast. But it's like, do you cater to your buyer or do you? No, I was like, I don't cater to anybody. I cater to myself. Yeah. So I go target properties, I target areas, and then I go find the buyers that need the properties in that area.
Exactly.
Yeah, is it good? Okay, if you come across something, I'm your buyer. Absolutely perfect. I'll send it to you. So, so you transition into from wholesaling houses into wholesaling commercial, and now, but when you were wholesaling houses, you were still like a one-man show, right?
Yeah, that's
it was you and your mom basically, and whatever help you had around you.
Yep.
But you didn't have like an acquisitions and dispositions and transaction guy, this and that.
Nope.
You were literally pocketing all the money, but there was a lot of hustle behind it.
Yeah, a lot of hustle behind it. A lot of, hey, one showing only, and I'm like, I'm just not, I would literally show it, and if I had enough, I put in enough information on my email blast, Dropbox photos, to where you didn't have to, like, look, you can, and I was accurate with my repairs. Because I had done a few flips, I think I made a couple thousand. It wasn't much. I wasn't doing them right. I didn't know, but I gave people enough information, and my numbers were accurate. Because I had people that buy deals from me. Hey, man, you said the repairs were 60. I did them for 53. Hey, good. I made an extra $7,000.
Yeah, that's an extra $7,000 for them. Good for them.
So yeah, one man show, man. I just didn't, and I'm still kind of a one man show. I'm working on rebuilding my team. I had some partners here recently I just split up with, and I'll partner with people on certain projects, but I'm not going to partner in business anymore.
JV is better, man. Yeah. Hey, let's just do that one deal together. Perfect.
Yeah.
But, having a partner, because now you have to ask for permission. Now, they have to ask for permission, right? And it's just, I guess it gets up to a point in this business to where you just want to do whatever the hell you want to do, exactly. and not have to ask anybody for permissions or whatever. So, so let's talk about commercial wholesaling for a little bit. Like,
sure.
Okay, so let's I know this answer, guys, by the way, but I always like to ask it, and he probably knows where I'm coming from. What's the biggest assignment fee you collected on a multifamily wholesale deal?
Biggest assignment fee?
Yeah,
$1.2 million.
1.2 mil. One deal, guys. One deal, right? That's all you gotta do. One deal a year. Maybe one deal every 2 years. If you really want to be lazy in this business, you learn what this man knows, and you might get there, right? But it's easier said and done, right?
Absolutely.
Because those are. I remember when we met when you presented at the Hustlers Mastermind with Michael and Charles. I was one of the guys that was more probably interested about the process on the conversation with the seller, because you started going through the whole presentation. This is how I find the properties. This is how I qualify, bam, 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 bam. And then when you got into the conversation with the seller, I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is a whole different conversation, because it's more sophisticated. Like, you're talking to sophisticated people. These are not your normal desperate homeowner that just wants off the property,
Right.
So let's talk about commercial wholesaling for a little bit. In Team Luna's perspective, what are the basic things that you got to look for on a deal?
Commercial wise, the basics are just your gross income, and then your expenses, which will give you your net income, right? So you take your net income, divide it by the sales price, and that gives you your cap rate, right? So, once you have that, then I kind of go into, okay, let me find out about the condition of the property, or hey, let me schedule a tour so I can go and check out how much rehab each unit needs, depending if it's a 5 unit all the way up to 100 unit, right? So, everything in commercial is just based on the financials. If the financials don't make sense, I talked to a guy yesterday. He's got 12 units over near 610 South, 45 South. He wants $875. That's $72,000 a door.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, I said, and I texted him back. I said, 4 months ago he agreed to 700, and now he wants 875. And I said, man, that's 72,000 a door. It's not worth it in that area. I'm buying a 96 unit apartment complex for 53,000 a door. Why would I pay you 72,000 a door
for less units?
Exactly. So knowing the financials is the main thing. And then of course you can look at price per door and look at the area. If you're in Montrose, price per door is going to be 150,000.
The dirt is more expensive.
The dirt is more expensive, but out in that area, you're looking at 37 to 45,000 a door, So, just kind of, like you said, being the area expert. Hey, and the thing about commercial is it's all over. I mean, I talked to some people in Humble, and then I talked to people in Kemah, So you just kind of have to know that, generally speaking, if it's a C-class property, I can't pay $70,000 a door, right? So, the main thing I always talk to them about is their financials. Are they fully occupied, or what's their occupancy like? Are any of the units rehab? Do you have any deferred maintenance, any capital expenditures, your roof, foundation, plumbing, things like that? The big ticket items, and then from there I'm able to kind of assess, an offer relatively quick. If somebody gives me financials without looking at their property, I can make them an offer in, 45 minutes.
Right. So those are the basics, basically. Look at your financials. Figure out what the NOI and the expenses are, then figure out what the cap rate is. Then after that, you look at conditions on the property.
Correct.
And last is the area.
I think last is the area, because, the other thing you look at, too, is just, along with the condition, is how much value add can you raise? Like how much, you look at their rent roll. A lot of people will send you their financials, and you got to get the rent roll. And their rent roll, let's say they got a 2-bedroom, 1 bath in Southeast Houston, they're charging $450. You can charge $900.
So,
right?
And I understand, like, when you're in doing multifamily, right? And a lot of our listeners and viewers are newbies, like, are people getting into real estate. So can you explain a little bit the difference in between value add and what's the other one? Like the two different
stabilized, you mean?
So what's value add? Like, what's in value add? How do you determine?
So, value add is you're looking at a let's just say a 10-unit apartment complex. Okay, so the rents are low. The owner pays. Most owners will pay a common electric, like for the outside lights and stuff, and then they'll pay water and gas. So, like a value add in that situation would be low rents. They could take the gas, whatever is gas out there, make it an electric appliance, and that way the tenants have to pay their own electric,
right?
Which will save the owner $100 a month, $200 a
right?
month, right? And then you can implement what's called a rub system, where you can put the water bill back on the tenants, to where it's a system where the company will divvy it based on usage. Like apartment 1 is your bill is 75, 2 is 85, yada yada yada. So that's kind of the value add. putting the stuff back on the tenants, raising your rents, making small improvements to the outside in order to raise the rent. Go out there and paint, put new siding, maybe fix the roof, and then boom, you can raise the rents.
That's good. So when you're looking in a multifamily, for instance, that's what you probably do the most, right? Multifamilies, or that's where you focus.
That's where I focus for the most part.
For the most part. So you go through the financials first, then is the location, then you go, okay, is this a value-add opportunity or not? Right?
Correct.
And then you make an offer based on that, and then you wholesale it to either your end buyer or you end up buying it, because I know you buy them too.
Correct.
And what do you think? How do you think the market is behaving right now with all these buyers that are out there? Just because there's people out there training people on how to buy multifamilies now, and now everybody's a multifamily investor,
right?
Even though they don't own not even a condo,
right?
But it makes it harder because now you got all these other people making offers that sometimes are not even educated.
It goes back to the it reminds me of 2017 with houses.
Yeah.
The problem is with it's just like a house, right? So a sophisticated owner is just like a homeowner that wants to dump a house.
Right.
If they're given an offer and you try to come in and show them it's only worth this much, it's very hard to do. So what we're finding that's happening right now, the problem is that these newbies are coming in and making ridiculously high offers. And then when they can't wholesale it because they have no intention of buying it, then I can't come back and say it's only worth $1 million and not 2.5, or 1.5.
Yeah, it's $500,000 away. Like it's too far.
And a lot of my conversations with sellers, I love this question. I'm like, hey, have you had an offer in the past? Or when I ask them how much they're thinking in terms of an offer, like for a sales price, they'll say, oh, like 1.5 million. Okay, where'd you get that number from? And inevitably they'll say, oh, well, I was offered that last year. Okay, well, did it sell? I know the answer is no because I'm still talking to the owner. And when they say no, then I'm going to say, well, look, it's might not be worth that because it didn't sell then. And then that's a real big eye-opening statement for them because they're like, well, damn, he's right. The guy didn't close. Why didn't he close? He probably didn't close because he couldn't find, I don't say an end buyer. I just say he couldn't get financing for your property at that price, which I know it just probably couldn't find the end buyer.
Right. Where do you see the market going right now, multifamily wise?
Man, there's a lot of hedge funds out there. There's a lot of, New York, California money that's buying stuff pretty high prices, So, right now it's just going to be a lot of the guys I know that have done multifamily and stuff. They're kind of doing more office buildings and stuff like that because you can still get pretty good deals there.
Yeah.
But right now, man, it's tough. It's real tough. It's competitive, A lot of it, to me, that I find more success with are my follow-ups and building that relationship. I just did a deal. I was going to buy the deal, and I decided to wholesale it. Sold to a guy out of Seattle, Washington. And I talked to that owner for 2 years. I've been talking to him for 2 years, and he finally decided to sell.
Wow.
It was a great, wholesale deal. I made $180,000 on it. But it's like, I could have held it, but I decided against it.
Yeah, so the follow-up game and staying in – this is definitely a long-term play. It's not a I need money for rent next month. It's like, hey, you better be in a good, solid position before you start stumbling into wholesaling multifamily because it might just take you a year to get a deal,
It might take you 6 months once you find a deal to sell it.
Right.
Or for it to close. I just did a 24-house package all over Houston to a hedge fund, and that's not going to close till September, which is fine. I'm just saying that for an example, that's 2 months.
Yeah.
Where you may flip a deal and make $12,000 in 3 days.
Yeah.
Right. We've both been there.
Yeah.
So it's just a longer play. You just have to. 2018, 2019. I did not close a deal from July to October, but both years in a row. The deal in July was a hefty deal, and the one in October was over $150,000. But not very many people can go August, all of September, all of October without any money.
No. And then they start questioning: is this really working?
Exactly.
Am I good for it? Or am I not good for it? So that's a perfect example of consistency, perseverance, grit. So, man, you're sticking with it. You're like, I know it works. I just gotta go continue to find until I find the one. And then when you hit the $150,000 assignment, don't just go blow it up on a Rolex and the casino and the strip club like a lot of the other guys I know do. Nothing wrong with those things, but
Rolexes are nice.
Yeah.
You know?
And girls need to go to college,
Sure,
you know. So
they
you gotta go support the strip club.
They do.
but the truth is, you know, is that you have to be more aware of your finances on how you handle them if you're jumping in something like what you're doing.
Right. Well, not to mention, I pay for, I have Constant Contact, I have CoStar, I have a Round Me account. Those things cost money every month.
Yeah.
So you're pouring money into the marketing, and the good thing now is that I have enough. My buyers list is so large now that I have people bringing me deals off my list. So it's kind of it subsidizes.
It's coming back to you now.
Right.
All the hard work and dedication that you put into building that buyers list, it's already paying you a different way.
Exactly.
And so, what does the future look like for you, man? What's next for you?
Man, what's next for me is so I've been a part of 2 different complexes I've purchased with some partners. I had a 22-unit deal in League City. I did just a JV with a guy, and then he bought me out this past year, which I was like, good, I'm kind of done. And then I did a 20-unit apartment complex with the last set of partners I had, and I kind of just walked away from that one too, just took a little cash out. So I've been working a deal for 96 units over in Southeast Houston. Finally got under contract yesterday. So I'm going to partner with another guy I've done a deal with in the past, and we're going to take it down together. We're getting it for about $5.5 million. After it's all said and done, stabilized, should be about $9.5 million. So we'll be able to do a cash out refi at that price, and be able to cash flow from there. And then I'm working on another 114-unit deal. So right now I'm looking mostly to hold the larger complexes. And I want to get a couple of smaller deals just kind of for myself, on the side here, maybe, a couple 10, 15-unit deals. So, but I want to go back to kind of doing more of a single family stuff. I'm starting to talk to more people about building a team, and I like that consistent cash flow of the single family in between the intermittent spurts of the multifamily. So that's kind of the future, and then I'm going to start doing a coaching program eventually. I've got a guy I'm talking to now. He's gonna be my guinea pig, and kind of do a little mentorship program for him, and then hopefully I can kind of get into the coaching realm. But that's going to be 6-8 months down the road. Right now, my focus is building a team for the single family side and getting that business going.
Good deal, man. Well, thank you so much for coming, Tim. I appreciate you. And guys, you guys might want to go follow Tim Luna on Instagram and Facebook. We're gonna put his handles there. Hit like. If you got a multifamily question or you got a deal you want to work with Tim, feel free to reach out to him. He's always looking for JVs and things. We were just talking about it, and I just got a property in my head that I'm gonna have to run by you.
Absolutely.
So
help, man.
absolutely, so we all help each other out, right? Exactly. We don't have it all figured out, so we got to work together. Yep. And Tim was actually one of our speakers in our last mastermind, the RE3 mastermind. That we had in Houston, Texas, April 30th and May 1st and 2nd. And I'll tell you what, man, everybody loved your presentation.
Man, I was so nervous. I had to come on after Brad Lee and after lunch. And
those are some big shoes to fill, man.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, but your subject is very interesting, man, because, you have something that, you wholesale one of those deals, and that's life changing. It changes even your kid's life. If you're not a dumbass by blowing out $1.2 million, on an assignment or whatever, that's a lot of money. Some people will not even make $1.2 million in the next 20 years. You know what I'm saying? So collectively,
yes.
So you do that on one deal, man. That's impressive, right? So
and I'm able to see. My kids are able to see the fruits of the labor, and they're able to see. We were just on vacation for all but 6 days in June. And so we were in South Carolina, and I had that 22-unit deal closed. So they sent a mobile notary to the golf course where my son and I were playing golf at the resort in Harbor Town where we were staying. And I did the double closing paperwork, and I was explaining to my son the whole process. Hey, I make $180,000 here, da-da-da, here's what I did. And then we went to Destin after that. Well, my other closing, I sold a 12-unit deal, and here comes the mobile notary. We're in Destin. We just got we went to Crab Island, had a pontoon boat. Lady met us at Panera Bread. We had, we were eating our dinner, and the lady comes in, does mobile notary, boom, boom, boom. So my family's able to be there with me to see this, to see the fruits of the labor. 2 closings in 2 weeks. $350,000 in cash in my pocket.
That's awesome.
Able to enjoy my vacation. So these are this is the way that multifamily can change someone's life.
Yes.
You just have to know how to do it the right way, right?
Right.
And ultimately just do business the right way, right? Keep enough money in the deal for the next person who's buying it from you and make a little money yourself, right?
That's correct. Good deal, man. Well, guys, we're going to have the Real Estate Entrepreneurs event and Mastermind again in Miami, Florida, October 21st through the 24th. Team has been invited to it again. So there's a bunch of whole new guys that are coming on board as well. And along with some of the other guys that were on the last one. So we're going to have a great time. And we're going to be going on yachts. So that's going to be – I can't wait.
So I haven't booked yet, but I haven't told you yes or yet. But I think if you get Pitbull, I'll get over there and I'll come.
Well, he I'm waiting on his response.
Okay.
So anyhow, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much for being out there. Bye.
Bye, guys.